Yes, guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel. Thought I'd let the 6 Things We Learned video sit on the channel last night so that if you got a chance to watch it, you watched it. If you didn't, go and watch it. But if you're already here, stick around because we are going to talk in more detail about Chelsea versus Manchester City. I've watched a lot of content around this game, a lot of neutrals that have had their say about Chelsea's performance, City's performance. We can all mutually agree that this is one of the most entertaining Premier League games in recent memory. Chelsea absolutely turned up. Pochettino got it right. Pep Guardiola's City. I don't even think anyone can say that City were bad. I think it was very much a case of Chelsea made their life very difficult. Chelsea utilised what we have going for us, and we made it difficult for Manchester City to play. I think if City would have maybe had John Stones and Rodri in the side, I think it could have been a different story, but they bloody didn't, did they? So we're going to talk in a bit more detail today. I'm going to give my player ratings for the Chelsea performances. Going to talk a bit more about Pochettino as well, and then check back on the channel tomorrow because the 3 More Points podcast is returning. Harry is back. He's been on some escapades in a different country, so he's back. We're going to talk about that. But Chelsea versus Manchester City. I want to talk a little bit about the first 5 minutes of this game, first of all, because I think the first 5 minutes set the tone for the evening. John Terry said post-match that that was the best atmosphere at a Chelsea game that he'd experienced since he retired. And I think a lot of that comes down to the impetus that is put on Chelsea right now to get a good start to matches. If you want to do well against Manchester City, you have got to frustrate them. You've got to make them feel as though what they try to do on the pitch every time they go out there, which is control everything, ain't going to be possible. And Chelsea did that. The first 5 minutes we were getting forward. We saw Reece James, who is a massive talking point within this video. Reece James has the confidence. He's not worried about Jeremy bloody Doku. Who the bloody hell is that guy? He's got him in his pocket still now on an international break. If Doku's playing for Belgium, he's got to ask permission first because Reece has got to let him out and unzip that zipper on the right-hand pocket. He was absolutely magnificent. James getting forward. He just does bring so much more balance and quality to this Chelsea team. We're getting forward. We're creating opportunities, creating openings, and frustrating Manchester City. And you could see in the early phases of this game that Chelsea were aware that in order to get a good result here, we're going to have to control the midfield. And that's exactly what we did. And City were outnumbered. When you look at that starting 11, you're thinking, blimey, we could get wrecked here because you've got Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, Julian Alvarez, Erling Haaland, Jeremy Doku. So many forward attackers, but then just Rodri in the middle. And with Gallagher, Caicedo and Enzo, Chelsea were able to basically nullify Rodri at times. It forced Akanji to come up, which then left space in behind the Manchester City back line. And I think the opening few minutes of this game showed us that Chelsea weren't here to sit back, allow Manchester City to have possession. These are the 2 highest possession teams in the league. City number 1, Chelsea number 2. And in the end, I would say that overall, the balance of the game, Chelsea were far more clinical. And I think we did look dangerous as much, if not more, than Manchester City did. We've also got to remember that we have got a striker who is still in a Premier League teething phase. And they've got the best striker, the best goal scorer in the world. So I think based on the balance of all of those chances, Chelsea did incredibly well. I'm going to begin now with the player ratings, but before we do that, I just want to say, how good does it feel? Chelsea fans, let me know in the comments right now. Optimism is at an all-time high for this team. And when I say this team, we look at the players that we had last season. You remember at Manchester United, I think it was towards the end of the season, where there was a bit of a kerfuffle, you could say, on the pitch where Chelsea players were infuriated, or should I just say Enzo Fernandez was infuriated around the referee. Nobody else seemed to care. The 50-50s, we were going in with half-assed effort. We'd given up on the season. Bring in Mauricio Pochettino, add a few more players to this, and start to feel the players that we did buy last summer, last January, starting to knead together. And all of a sudden, we've got a Chelsea team to back here that absolutely give a flying Scooby-Doo about the shirt, about the badge. You put into that Conor Gallagher, who's a new player this season, Chelsea captain when Reece James isn't on the field and Ben Chilwell's not about. All of a sudden, I really think here we've got all of the ingredients to do something special. But let's keep talking about the game at hand before we let optimism carry us away over the course of the next 2 weeks. That's how I love international breaks. When Chelsea get a good result, we can afford to be optimistic, especially right now. We begin with Robert Sanchez, who I've given a 7 out of 10. A lot of people thought I was mental for praising a goalie who concedes 4 goals in a game. Look, this Man City team could score 10 on any given weekend if they wanted to. And I think it was the moments where Sanchez made big saves that really defined this game, not going away from Chelsea. We were always in it. We were only ever 1 goal down at any given point. And it was the Sanchez save to deny Haaland. It's an unbelievable run. This is literally like the pinnacle of strikers right now, Erling Haaland. The ball comes in, I think, from Bernardo Silva. Haaland has made this run where Silva is already aware that Haaland's going to be there. But Haaland is darting diagonally towards the left side to try and take it onto his left foot alongside Disasi, I think it was, or maybe Thiago Silva. And obviously he's got the beating of Silva for pace. He fires in a ferocious shot down to Sanchez's left. And for a man who at times this season I've looked at and thought, does this guy does he like to dive when the ball's in the net? Because it takes him a bloody year and a half to get down because he's 6'8" or whatever he is. It's a phenomenal save. This keeps Chelsea within touching distance of always being close to catching City. And when you think about the mentality, the psychology within this team, when we go a goal down, normally we kind of lose a bit of interest, our heads drop, we struggle to get back into games. And because it was Man City, and because of the way that we've been playing, the crowd is behind us because of the effort that everyone was putting in, that Sanchez save was a defining moment for Chelsea to really keep ourselves in control, even when we were losing. Massive moment, and I've got to give a lot of credit to Sanchez. His composure as well, when he had the ball at his feet, was significantly better than we've seen in recent weeks. Good performance from the goalie. Reece James, I've given a 7.5. Kind of tempted to bump this up to 8, but I'm going to stick with what I initially thought. I do the 6 things we learned, then I write down my ratings for the players. And it's a 7.5 for Reece. Plays 64 more minutes, which again, such a beauty to have. Malo Gusto is a quality defender, not so much finisher. We'll talk about him later. To come off the bench against Man City with still 25 minutes to play, with the game still up in the air as it comes to the outcome. What's it going to be? But what I loved about Reece was defensively, he was more than solid up against the in-form winger in the Premier League right now. Doku absolutely destroyed Bournemouth the previous week. Scored a great goal. Could have had another one, but I think it hit his own man. And 4 assists. Like, the bloke is an absolute demon. He can go down the left-hand side, hugging the touchline, but he can also cut in on his right foot as well. And Reece dealt with that. But not only did he deal with it, but he took it upon himself to know that he is one of the biggest and best attacking threats at Chelsea. Gets forward, gets the assist for Raheem Sterling's goal. And overall, like I said, he's got Doku in his pocket right now amongst many other top-class wingers. And I think if Reece can stay fit, he's not on international duty with England. I think there was a conversation between Chelsea, England, and I think Reece is absolutely trying to live up to this captaincy role right now at Chelsea. If they're saying maybe you shouldn't play, Reece is focusing on Chelsea. I absolutely love that. England are qualified. We're playing nothing matches. Reece James is getting back to his very best. And I think what we see with Reece, which is why I'm always tentative to talk about how brilliant he is, he always looks so much stronger when he initially comes back from those injuries. We get excited about him again, and then, oh dear, something happens. I'm not going to do it, but it's like snapping a pair of sunglasses, isn't it? It's not going to protect your eyes once you snap one of those little legs that goes behind your ear holes. We move into Axel Disasi, who very quietly is becoming a very good player for Chelsea. I've given him a 7 out of 10 because I wanted to kind of juxtapose Thiago Silva and how brilliant it was to once again have a goal from a set piece. But I think Disasi, when you've got, like we said, Foden, Silva, Alvarez, Haaland, am I missing someone in this Man City attack? Probably. But there's a lot of good attacking players there. They're all smart enough to know that there are different ways to break down a team. Cucurella, who we'll go into in a moment. Phil Foden knew that he had Kyle Walker coming over the right-hand side of him, so Foden was making these little underlapping runs too. But with Disasi, he's got Erling Haaland coming at him. Yes, Haaland scores 2. First one should never be a goal because it should never be a penalty. Second one, I mean, I don't know what... I said this in the 6 things. Does it go through with, like, his genitals? Was it his arse? Was it his... I don't know how Haaland scores, but he just does because it's a lovely ball across the face from Foden. But Axel Disasi, overall, just looks very comfortable in this Chelsea back line. He's strong. He's not afraid to get his head in front of the ball. He's not afraid to dive into a challenge, and he's composed, which is exactly what we need. And I think with Levi being dropped out of the team, losing his head at the end of that game against Spurs, could that be something which sees Colwill struggle to get back into this Chelsea team when Thiago Silva, who is a 7.5 here, is still turning up with these phenomenal defensive displays? Now, Chelsea's oldest ever goal scorer at 39 years old. The celebration, we've got to enjoy any moment that we get where Thiago Silva scoring a goal, let alone a big goal in a massive match. You don't know how long this guy's still going to be here. There's a lot of talk at the moment that he might be going back to Brazil. Fluminense want him to end his career in Brazil. Could see it happening, to be quite honest. But when he turns up and plays the way he did there, scoring that goal in particular, I want to focus on the goal because I want to enjoy that Thiago Silva moment. What a finish. Like the run, it's just 20 years of being a centre-back and trying this everywhere he goes. He even did it against Chelsea for Paris Saint-Germain, I remember, in the Champions League. Makes a darting run, bullet header. There's also David Luiz header, I think, in the same game. But what a finish. What an unbelievable goal. And the timing of it too. The longer Chelsea go where we're 1-0 down, the more our heads drop. Call upon your leader. Call upon the old boy, the granddad in the team to bury you one in against a world-class goalkeeper. Brilliant from Thiago Silva. Cucurella 6.5. Now, this is where I think I've been a bit harsh. Cucurella had so much to deal with in this game, and he did a good job. And I think the penalty, as much as the history books won't remember, that probably isn't a penalty because it is 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Haaland gets the initial grab to pull himself beyond Cucurella, and this is just basic physics at this point. You've got to flip in, I don't know how many kilos he is, probably 95 kilos or 90 kilos or something. He's yanked Cucurella, who's got more weight in his hair than he's got anywhere else in his body. And he's just pulled himself in front of him, and then he goes down, because at that point it's kind of just a bit nip and tuck. I was going to say something else then and tug, but I can't really say that on a YouTube video, can I? You know what I mean. All right, let me dig myself out of this hole. 6.5 for Cucurella. I thought he was good, but he did have a lot to deal with. Kyle Walker, one of the best attacking right-backs. Not the best, because we know who that is. Best attacking right-backs in the world, going beyond him. Phil Foden cuts in on his left, goes down on his right. He's just magnificent footballer. And Foden had a good game, but Cucurella did all that he could have done. Moises Caicedo I've also given a 6.5 because I do think that we must look at the 4 goals that Chelsea concede. I don't want to put individual blame, really, on any of those goals, but defensively, I've seen much better performances from Caicedo when it comes to protecting that back line. I thought Enzo was better than he was against Spurs, and Gallagher was once again, as he quite often is right now, the standout performer in this midfield. I do want more from Caicedo. I think he can still be a little bit sloppy. There was quite a lot of challenges that were happening during this game, I think due to the intensity of it. I believe Caicedo also did get himself a yellow card for a foul in the second half. But I think with Caicedo, it's been a slow burner. It was a slow start, and it was kind of out there start when he got that red card against West Ham. But he's growing into this Chelsea team, and I think when we talk about this midfield in general, as you move on to Enzo, who's a 6.52, still looks slow. And I don't know if Enzo is overweight. I'm not saying he's overweight, right? But he just looks very slow when he's running. I know he's not known for just like running, chasing. It's more just like positional awareness where Enzo's often in the right place to break things up, release the ball, be it long pass, short pass. That's what we expect from Enzo. But between Caicedo and Enzo, if they were just a bit tighter, I think in this game, I think Chelsea could have won by a couple of goals, to be quite honest. I thought we were that good overall. But the control in this midfield, Conor Gallagher is a 7.5. Could be an 8. I think I've been a bit harsh maybe here on these ratings, to be honest. But I like to juxtapose game by game. Win's a win, draw's a draw, loss is a loss. 7.5. Very positive from Conor Gallagher. When we bring it back to the points about setting the tone early in the game, the tracking back tackles from Gallagher, always willing to dive in. I've seen a lot of people talk about Gallagher. I watched James Alcott's video where he's analysing how Pochettino's Chelsea made Manchester City look average. Really good video. In that video, he talks about Conor Gallagher. He uses the word tenacity, which is something that Chelsea fans, we can all relate to this. We see the tenacious side of Conor Gallagher. And within that video, he's talking about how this kind of match allows someone like Gallagher to be so useful to Chelsea, but he's not sure if he's tidy enough as a player. Not to quote James here, but what I took from it was he's not sure if he's a tidy enough player, where if Chelsea are playing against these low blocks and we've got to be a bit more intricate and a little bit more passive, potentially, whilst taking risks in the final third, maybe Gallagher's not the guy. But Gallagher, for me, was the reason we frustrated Manchester City so much. Because even when Akanji would move up into like a midfield area, Guardiola was more than happy to go forward as well from the left. Kyle Walker, Ruben Diaz, they were all trying to progress. They had no time. They had no space. They didn't have anywhere to pass the ball to because the Chelsea fullbacks were so tight to the wingers. The centre-backs were pushing up, not allowing City to suffocate us, and we overran them in the midfield. Rodri needed more support, but because Gallagher was absolutely at his ankles everywhere he went, if he gets it forward, Caicedo's there, ready to break it up, and then Enzo's ready to start the Chelsea attacks. The balance was brilliant, and I think this was all down to Mauricio Pochettino, who we will finish on in this video. Raheem Sterling gets an 8.5. I don't know what it is about this man. The moment I criticise him, he turns up the next game and has an unbelievable match. I didn't like his performance against Spurs. Yes, there were a lot of things that he did to facilitate the moves that made us win the game, but I wanted more. Against Man City, it looks as though Raheem Sterling was out to prove a point. When Reece James has comfortably slid Doku into the pocket, Raheem Sterling is looking at this thinking, I'm going to show Pep Guardiola here that I've not just come to Chelsea for a payday, won a load of trophies with you, now I'm not good enough. He just had a glint in his eye in this match. He's trying to nutmeg his old teammates all the time, which I absolutely love. Sometimes he maybe try to overdo it, but I think Sterling was such an important figure in this Chelsea team with the energy. We spoke a lot in the 6 Things We Learned about how when we're going forward on that right side with Reece, Cole Palmer would kind of drift in towards that number 10 area, but kind of just holding a pocket of space between the winger position, and that number 10 spot. But Sterling was everywhere. He was running over to the right side to win the ball back. He was available for every pass, taking players on, and he gets a great finish as well, holding his run. I think the first offside in this game was in the 84th minute, which is bonkers considering how often we were offside against Spurs and how often generally Chelsea players just seem to be offside. Everyone was on job in this game, including Cole Palmer, who gets an 8 out of 10. I have been waxing lyrical, to quote Football Therapy. I have been talking about this guy every bloody week because this kid is special. And I think the craziest thing about the Palmer signing is he came at the end of the transfer window. There wasn't a pre-season. We didn't get to see him kind of like used in different positions during that pre-season tour where overall it was a very positive Chelsea pre-season under Pochettino. Palmer's just arrived and he's just fitted like a glove into this Chelsea team. And I do think that we're going to see the best out of him when he can be a bit more central. But at the moment where we're still trying to find our feet, you need certain players to absolutely take over that torch and be like, right, during this period where we're still unsure, we're still trying to figure out the way to play against this kind of team, that kind of team, you've got to have those players that are willing to do everything. And Cole Palmer is willing to do everything right now, be out on the right wing, take on those tactical instructions to allow Reece to do what he did, and then the penalty as well. We've got to talk about this penalty. It's not just about tactically how smart Cole Palmer is, and once again, proving to Guardiola that maybe they got the wrong guy. They didn't need a Jeremy, but Palmer wanted to come to Chelsea. What's the line? He's City's boy, Chelsea's man. What a line that is from Peter Drury, by the way. The penalty is emphatic too. He puts his foot through this one beyond putting your foot through a football. There was meaning behind this one. There was serious strength and grit behind this penalty from Palmer. And at 4-3 down, I don't think there's a single person in that stadium that were like, yeah, City deserve to win this one. There is pressure. The City players are obviously trying to do everything they can to delay the taking of the penalty. Cole Palmer has taken over from what Jorginho did, but Jorginho was scoring penalties and kind of like allowed him to still be kind of in the team, I guess, at this point. Palmer just brings so much more than just converting every penalty that he gets. He's getting assists every game as well. The man is absolutely magnificent. He's my favourite player at Chelsea right now. I love the way he is in interviews. He's kind of a bit like, not short, snappy answers, but you can tell the man's just got a buzz about him right now. He feels empowered by Maurizio Pochettino, which is such a big thing. Speaking of empowerment, Nicholas Jackson gets given the start, which he evidently deserved to do after that hat-trick against Tottenham. I just wanted to pick the same team that we saw against Arsenal because I thought Cole Palmer did such a good job, and I didn't think the game would be as open as this one was. Nicholas Jackson was kind of marked out of the game. He struggled to get involved, but the goal that he scores are some of my favourite goals you see from a striker, where Ederson, who's a top-class goalkeeper, parries the ball from Conor Gallagher's shot from outside the area. It's a ferocious shot, but Ederson should do better. Nicholas Jackson is ready. He is ready to pounce in and around the box. And some games, you need your striker to score you a hat-trick and win the game. Some games, you're up against strong opposition, tactically smart and astute opposition that will try and make it difficult for that striker. You get your one chance, and he took it. It's a 6 for Nicholas Jackson because other than that, there wasn't really much to go by. But it's once again a massive step for him. Confidence to score against the champions. 4 goals in a week for Chelsea against arguably the 2 best teams in the league so far this season. Massive week for him. Mudryk I've given a 6. I think at times, once again, he struggles with the press. But in the build-up to the penalty, Mudryk is absolutely fantastic. He gets the ball, drives it forward, cuts inside, makes that pass. And it was a team goal. Armando Broja goes in, he goes down. Overall, Chelsea needed everybody here, including Malo Gusto. I've given a 5 because we would have beaten Man City 5-4 if Gusto hits the target. If Malo Gusto hits the target, this goes in my opinion. I think it either goes under Ederson's body, it goes beyond and round Ederson's body into the top corner. He could, I don't know. He's just got to score that, isn't he? And I think that is the difference right now between Reece James and Malo Gusto. Malo Gusto is a fantastic defender. He's 19 years old. Let's always remember that. But Reece James finishes that. He absolutely finishes that. And we finished with Armando Broja. I've given a 6.5, but I'm going to change that to a 6. I can't give him more than Jackson because Jackson scored a goal. But Broja wins the penalty. Fresh legs. We've seen this before from Armando Broja against Ruben Diaz for Southampton when Southampton got a draw. I think it was like 3 years ago or something now. But Broja's caused them problems before. He comes on and he causes problems again, wins the penalty. Chelsea don't win the game, but it feels like a moral victory, this one. I think when you look at the Spurs one and it's kind of like, yeah, we can be excited, but you were awful. In this game, we were bloody fantastic and absolutely at minimum deserved the draw. Broja wins the pen. Palmer converts it. We finish with Maurizio Pochettino, who is a 9.5 from me. Overall, I think this was brilliant from Pochettino. Brilliant in the way that he instructed certain players to do certain things. He knew that this wasn't going to be like any of the other games we've played and struggled in this season. City are going to come and play. They don't need to sit back and hope for the best and hope that Chelsea just continue with this run of not being able to break teams down, not being able to finish chances. So Pochettino, I think, was the empowering character behind all of the empowerment that I saw from the players on the field, because he has told these Chelsea players, look, we're Chelsea. Every interview we see from Pochettino, he reminds people, we're Chelsea, there are high standards, we belong here, we're not there, but we're going to get there. And we've all got a bit tired about hearing about the process. It's been a year and a half of trying to believe in something. Now, after the week we've just had, I am so confident, more than I ever have been prior, even before a ball was kicked and our preseason was brilliant. I'm so confident that Maurizio Pochettino is on 100 million percent, 100%, 110%, the right man to lead Chelsea forward and get us back to where we belong. We're in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup, FA Cup, there to be taken. Now in the Premier League, we go to Newcastle, which, if you think about it, should be the trickiest game we have all season. These guys love to sit back. They're also blistering at home. This is going to be the real test now. What can Chelsea do at Newcastle? Get a result there. Bloody hell. I might start chomping on flipping screws. I don't know. I'm going to be buzzing. I'll tell you that much for free. 9.5 from Pochettino. Brilliant from Chelsea overall. And yeah, there's a lot more to talk about here. So I'm going to save it for the 3 More Points podcast. Let me know your player ratings from Chelsea 4, Man City 4 in the comments down below. And let me know anything specific about Pochettino that you think he did to give Pep Guardiola such a horrible afternoon at Stamford Bridge, but yet still come away with a draw. That's where it's at.